My mother was a great opera lover, and so I heard opera from an early age and hated it.
Most people don't like opera, and if they hear it, they go, "Oh, God, what is that?"
Every time my mother went out of the room and she was listening to radio, I always tried to change the station.
Because I wanted absolutely nothing to do with opera. I thought it was just like, "Hoi."
The bad taste in my mouth for opera was basically being exposed to a lot of Wagnerian sopranos with enormous vibrato. As a little kid, they'd go, it was like, how can anybody like this stuff?
Looney Tunes. It was the aria from The Barber of Seville, the Figaro aria. Aside from that, I would not have been anywhere near familiar with opera if it wasn't for Looney Tunes, honestly. It was just not an art form that I had exposure to.
Just my grandparents singing all the time, because they would just, I would say something and then they would just start singing.
Do you still sing now?
I do not.
She should be.
So you've heard her sing. She has a good voice?
Off and on.
Off and on good voice or off and on heard her sing?
Both.
I started to develop a passion for it, especially once I learned that there is so much drama in operas.
I suddenly turned a switch and went from being somebody that couldn't stand opera to somebody that couldn't get enough of it. It was just this gorgeous music and incredible sound.
All of a sudden, there was a switch, and I really started to enjoy opera. And then I started to listen to opera outside of going to the opera. My mother would be very proud.
I've known Danny for over 40 years. When I hired him, he was a piano student at Denver University. But his main instrument at the time was trumpet. When I was introduced to him, he was playing a call at the racetrack on the long trumpet, you know.
It was kind of a funny story. I sat down, and it's like an audition. It was at night. I played for a couple of singers, and I said, well, that's it. So I said, well, he didn't say anything. He said, I walked out. One of the singers was there, and she said to me, you know, Mara really likes the way you play. Why don't you give him a call? And I said, well, he didn't say anything. So I walked in a couple nights later. First thing he came up to me and said, well, do you want the job or not?
Danny worked 6 nights a week. And the only way I could get to go out with him was to get to work at Mario's. So I knew I had to get to be a good enough singer, because there were some wonderful singers there. I'd get all dolled up and I'd get all warmed up, and I'd take the bus, and I'd get off the bus about a block ahead, because I didn't want anybody to see me coming on the bus, you know. And then I'd go around the corner, and I'd go in there, and there he'd be. And then some nights, he would be there, and there'd be 2 or 3 sopranos in the audience who just happened to drop by to see Danny, and then he had to choose, and he was always terrible at that.
They didn't know how to handle it all.
But anyway, after about 6 months of this, of me coming in for free, Mario finally looked at me one night and he said, well, you're here every night anyway, I might as well hire you. And so that was it, and I worked there about 3.5 years.